Good morning. This is Pastor Bo Wagner for the Higher Grounds Podcast, Morning Minute Meditation. Speaking of Jesus, Romans chapter 1 verse 4 says, "And declared to be the Son of God with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead." The resurrection of Jesus Christ is not just the central doctrine of Christianity, it is also the central truth of human history. It's the most important thing that ever happened. But there were actually several other resurrections in Scripture, 9 of them thus far and counting, and there'll be another set of resurrections during the tribulation period when the 2 witnesses are raised from the dead. So what was it that makes Christ's resurrection so very different? What was it that marks him as the very Son of God? Well, a few things actually. Number one, his resurrection is the only one that was an unaided resurrection. Lazarus had to have Jesus call him forth. The man whose body was dropped into the tomb and touched Elisha's bones had to have Elisha's bones in order for him to come forth. Tabitha had to have Peter raise her from the dead, but Jesus came back to life unaided under his own power. And then there's the fact that only Jesus, out of all of human history, has had people guarding his tomb specifically to make sure that he didn't come out of it. And yet he came out of it anyway. And then there's the fact that only Jesus, among all those who have ever been raised from the dead, never had to die again. Can you imagine how awkward it was a few years later when Lazarus was laying on his deathbed, taking his last few breaths, and his family had to gather around him and say, "Hey, you know all those nice things we said about you the first time you were dying?" Ditto. Jesus didn't have anything like that because he simply stayed alive and then ascended back into heaven in front of so very many witnesses. The Christ we serve is not like anyone else. He's the Son of God, and he's God the Son, and he's declared to be that with power by the resurrection from the dead. This has been Pastor Bo Wagner with your High Grounds Podcast, Morning Minute Meditation.